and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Thank you for tuning in. It's going to be a very interesting show. I hope you find it interesting. I've got a guest joining me right now, right off the bat, and that is Matt Holman from 3H Tree Service. Matt, how you doing, man?
Good, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great, but you look too damn comfortable. Usually when I see you, you're either up in a tree or you're fixing the bucket truck or you're doing something, man.
Paperwork day today, admin day. I sent the crew out, and I'm so far behind on paperwork. So I've been sending off estimates and making phone calls and doing scheduling and getting all that stuff done today. So yeah, a little bit comfy sitting here at the house, and it's it's nice to have a crew that I can trust. You know, I can turn them loose and take care of the other side of things that I need to get taken care of.
Do you find that to be a growing part of the job is paperwork, or is it, are you finding that you're able to catch up with it? I mean, what is it with the paperwork and your business?
So I go out and I bid the job, and then I got an email and estimate back to the customer, the client, and then they approve it, and then I schedule it. So I just, you know, if I do 5 or 6 a night, and then, okay, I'll get to that tomorrow, and then I don't do it. And then by the time you know it, you got 15 of them piled up, and then it's a chore to get them out. And so I'm really trying to get disciplined into this new role and be able to stay on top of that stuff, keep communication between the clients and us, and, you know, just keep it all moving smooth.
That's part of growing business, and the administrative part is always that you want to keep it as low as possible, because like you said, you know, you started out as the guy in the field, and now you're doing the managerial stuff, which just keeps piling on as business goes out. And that's the level I was in business at when I left, as I was just stuck in the administration managing, and it's a pain in the ass. I almost wanted to get back in the lab and make classes. It was like,
I went out last night and just cut down trees for 2 hours because I wanted to just do something, you know, like it just, this new role is a little bit different. And I still try to get out in the field when I can and help those guys out, you know, take a little bit of their load off too. But it just seems like I'm trying to keep equipment running and keep those guys set up so that they can keep going now, you know.
How do you plan ahead when okay, so we're going into October, November, December. How do you plan ahead to do jobs? I mean, that must be really hell in the wintertime.
They're scheduled, you know. When I'm bidding the job, I try to take into account accessibility and that kind of stuff. You know, if they're on rock or whatever, we can do that pretty good. But if we're planning on being on a lawn, you know, we keep our fingers crossed and hope for a dry day, or we're going to have to adjust fire when we get there to make sure that that we can get it done. You know, I don't want to tear up people's yards for sure. So it's just a logistic thing, you know, and hopefully the weather works in our favor.
And I love Oregon for that reason. We didn't seem to have this problem in New Mexico, but you'll look at a beautiful patch of grass and think, okay, I can drive over that. And you'll roll over that sucker and you'll be 6 to 10 inches in mud all of a sudden.
Oh yeah. I've had to call the tow truck, and man, I hate making that phone call, but it's, you know, and then you're patching sod and everything else. And, you know, but it's, yeah, we try to learn from those mistakes, not make them again, because they're pretty costly.
In fact, didn't Rob from Base and Tackle, you had to bail him out one time, didn't you?
No, I told him I'd never admit it, but he bailed me out. I got stuck in the snow up in the woods when I was running that logging company, and here I am with this big full-size Ford pickup, and he pulled me out with that Chevy Colorado. I was pretty embarrassed.
Damn. I know that sucks.
It's iced tea, Rob. It's iced tea, I promise.
Me too. It is iced tea. I've stopped drinking over the last couple of months. I had an incident of drinking too much, and now just the taste and smell of alcohol turns my stomach.
No good. How about these gun laws that just went into effect, huh? Everybody with a quick trigger is a felon now, or at least Class B misdemeanor.
Well, at least though you can take your gun into the post office now, so there is that. So, I mean, it's always a trade-off, and I think wasn't that struck down by the Supreme Court? So I don't think that law is going to last very long. I think the Supreme Court already struck that down.
I don't think any of it's going to last very long. I've been watching, and it seems like between Pam Bondi and the DOJ and the Supreme Court that they're cracking down, and they're opening up our freedoms quite a bit and telling these ridiculous states that, hey, you know what, these guys can carry and quit infringing on their rights.
I nearly called you 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks? Yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks now. Dane called me up and he said, look, me and Dave Brown is the vice chair. You got to meet Dave at the meeting that we had. And so they called me up and they said, Rob, we've never been to the ICE facility. We've never seen that Antifa stuff because they weren't here. Dane wasn't here in 2020, and Dave's a coach. So they didn't see most of that stuff happening in Portland. So they wanted to go. And I said, sure, what the hell? Let's go up there. What could it hurt? And it was interesting. It wasn't like when you and I had been up there before and they were attacking us. It was a completely different atmosphere. It was almost carnival-like. It was like a evil carnival, though. You know what I mean? It was,
yeah.
You know those bastards, and you know how this is just evil, and so they were still doing the things. I was filming, and one of them stood next to me with the squeaker toy and kept squeaking it and shit like that. But I caught them on camera having conversation with the police, and the police giving them high fives, and they were good old buddies. And I filmed this. And so have you been there lately? Because I know
I haven't. I haven't gone up there. We spent all that time and all that energy going up there and trying to fight it, and it just it was all for naught. They still got their funding, and they still are an organization, and it just seemed like it was all a waste of time on our part. It felt good to be active and doing something, but it didn't produce any results. And so, no, I haven't been back up there. I've been watching it on YouTube a little bit, the streamers, and keeping an eye on what's going on. And I just, the whole thing's got me so mad. It is bad. It's still bad clear down to the Justice Center where we were at. None of that stuff ever got repaired.
No, it's all boarded up. They've got that whole skyscraper that's emptied out, and I think they said 40 to potentially 60% of the businesses are gone.
Yeah.
And it was bad. It was really bad. We walked around downtown. I didn't feel unsafe because there was no marches and there wasn't anything going on in the area. We were about 9-10 minutes away from the ICE Center, where we were downtown staying. And then we drove up to the ICE Center, and we had ice cream delivered. That's how weird it was. And I think they thought, what I think happened on that Friday night is they thought the National Guard was going to be there. And so the big boys weren't out. You know what I mean? The big badass Antifa. It was like third row Antifa. The fat lesbian blue-haired Antifa. It's just loudmouth. It's bad. They're still destroying the building. And we pay for the federal buildings, and I believe that the president has every right to defend it and send a National Guard. Totally, and it's going to happen. I think the Supreme Court is going to weigh in on this, and it's going to happen.
Well, yeah. Even when we were there in 2020, the Portland Police Bureau wasn't doing anything. You could see they were stood off way to the side, and just watching the whole thing go down. And they'd throw their tear gas in every once in a while when they thought it was getting rowdy, but they didn't. They didn't step in and try to stop any of it, and I don't know. I don't understand that at all. But and then I saw Antifa. I saw this deal where they're starting to track the money for Antifa, and they're starting to figure out that they're a lot more organized than they thought. We couldn't figure out how these guys all showed up with the same gear and all that. Like,
Mhm.
We didn't think any of them had jobs, and how are they supporting themselves, getting like their gear was as good as ours, and I know ours was expensive. So they're figuring out that it's money's being funneled into these organizations, and it's a lot bigger of a deal. I think they're going to try some RICO stuff to get Antifa shut down, because they're I agree, they're terrorists.
And it's funny, once again, here we are using the RICO statute. That's how they got Al Capone. You know what I mean? It was not the
Right.
RICO statute because it didn't exist, but they got him through tax evasion. It was like, we can't get you for murder, we can't get you for peddling the liquor, but we're with the tax evasion. That's where we're going to get you. And so, yeah, they have to use anything possible. And I love how they say we're not an organization, yet their financier was on the run to Europe. What? I don't have a financier, and I think only organizations are people who have people doing money things like that for them. It's
Yep.
I don't know, and so I'm keeping an eye on that. We're debating on traveling up there just to do a couple of more live streams and stuff, but it just all depends on how bad it gets. And like I said, I think in the next couple of weeks, the National Guard are going to be there, and it's going to be quelled a lot more.
I hope
And
so.
I hope so too. I hope so too. When does the Toast of the Coast? When does that contest come out?
January 7th. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that I wouldn't tell anybody the results, so I won't tell anybody the results, but it was all right.
It was all right. Okay. All right. Well, Base and Tackle Online says my itty bitty Colorado for the win.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. I'm eating crow.
Well, crow's not bad. Crow's not bad.
Depends on how you cook it.
Crap. Yeah, it just depends on how you cook it. And I'll tell you what, I mean, you get hungry enough, there's enough crows around here. I can make some damn good meals out here. So that used to be a delicacy back in the 1800s, was crow. Yeah,
No.
in certain places. Yeah, they would eat crow, and but people thought it was something only poor people did. But then again, there are places they would eat rats and call it gourmet. So that's what they did in Louisiana for nutria. We called them swamp rats, and then someone said, "No, we'll call them nutria and make it a gourmet meal to put it on a platter." And
those things are so gross.
Cajun food, man. You gotta, those Cajuns. What can I tell you? So anything big coming up in the future? Anything you think's on the radar that we should be paying attention to?
I don't no, I don't know. We'll see what Portland does, and then they're talking about this gun registry thing in the early of next year, and I don't think that's going to go through. It costs so much money to get that thing implemented, and that money's not there unless she's going to throw some other crazy tax on us and sneak that through in the middle of the night like they like to do. I don't know how they're going to fund it. And I've gone through, so I've got a concealed weapons permit and I got suppressors. So how many times are they going to fingerprint me and background check me? Right. What else do I need to do to prove that I'm an upstanding citizen to be able to buy a firearm?
And yeah, I know it's the same thing over and over again. They should make the list so they can make it so much shorter just by, like you said, putting it on a list. Okay, he's already done this here, and here. So it's not that I even want to be on the list. That's what makes me mad.
We shouldn't have to do any of it.
Right. Shall not be infringed, and it would be a much better world out there because no one would know who had what, and that's a better thing. So. Hey, you've signed up to be a Republican PCP, haven't you?
Yep.
Okay, so we're still waiting to do that, and that's moving forward, and there's a lot of things going on with that. We're going to be having a meeting soon. I hope I can get you out to that meeting. We got a couple of candidates coming, and so I really think that we can change around this party and take back a lot of the county seats that we've lost over the years. And I think we need people like you who are grassroots. We're blue collar. You know what I mean? We're the working guys who have to pay for everything. I mean, it's like every time I turn around, we're paying for the beaches now. We have to pay for Bullard's Beach. I used to take my granddaughter on the walks out there, and now it's $10 to go and park. It's crazy. And
and all that's going to lead to is people not wanting to park there and parking in the wrong spots, and then it's going to be a big old jammed up mess, and it just irritates me. Like they're going to raise payroll tax, so now I've got 4 employees. I got to pay more taxes there. They're up in vehicle registration. We got 6 vehicles in our fleet, so that's another, and it's already expensive for commercial vehicles. So that's another bunch of money. Like they're just trying to smash the small business. I don't understand it. It just infuriates me. And until we can get conservative people to get out there and vote, 27%, that ain't enough. We need to get people out there to vote and voice their opinion, and then maybe things will start to turn around. If not in the state, at least in the county.
Yeah, completely. And then you got to remember if we don't get that tax repealed, there's a petition coming out. If we don't get that tax repealed that just was passed, that transportation tax, you got all those other fees that are coming down the road and the gas tax on top of that. Do you have to pay the cat tax?
No, I don't have enough employees, thank God. I won't get that big. Tony does, for sure. And that's a huge deal because I think it's on the net, not the gross. Mm-hmm. So like there's a whole lot of money that goes through these even small, like he's got 35 employees, right? So that's not a huge company, but the money that goes through there is way more than he brings back, and they're taxing it on the big amount, not the little amount.
Not the little amount. Well, the actual amount that he keeps, what he actually makes, right? And it's stupid because gross doesn't indicate the net that you're going to take home. There's a lot of other things that trigger what is taken out of the gross amount. And so this is, like you said, gross is a perfect term for it. And it also encourages people not to grow business. Why would you, you know what I mean? Why would you, if you were on the verge of growing a business and you were about to hit the cat tax, I bet there are people out there who fired their employees or not have gotten bigger just because of that cat tax.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's screwed up.
We've thrown down around the idea of 1099 and everybody, making all my employees private contractors, and then they're not an employee. And so I don't know. There's got to be a way around it because it's expensive. Like my guys are great and they're worth it. They make a pretty good wage, and but it costs a lot of money, and so it's hard for me to balance all that out. Especially going from like a 3-man crew with hardly any overhead. It was me and my dad and my cousin, and then all of a sudden now we've got employees and just the rubber's meeting the road, and it's a little bit of growing pain. And I think she's trying to make it worse than it needs to be.
Oh, she's totally making it worse. And the reason she's doing that is that the feds are pulling back. They're clawing back all that money. They're clawing back all the Obamacare money. They're really taking a toll on that. The state knows that they're not going to get those federal dollars. And we are a debtor state to the feds. We get more money from the feds than we put in. And so therefore what they're trying to do is squeeze that lemon to get as much juice as they can until there's no juice left.
Which is so stupid. Look at the ample resources. I don't understand that. Like in the 80s, you didn't want for a school bond. You didn't want for a road to be repaired. None of that. And the timber paid for everything. And there's timber still there.
Timber's still there.
Why are we in this mess?
Yeah. And I'm kind of frustrated with the Trump administration that we haven't seen any movement on the ONC lands and the Wagon Road lands and any other federal lands, which would funnel money into rural areas. And so I was going to contact a buddy of mine who now works for the Trump administration, Vance Day. I don't know if you got to meet him when he came down here.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
And so I was going to contact him and see if somehow he can get a message to someone, to another department, in either where it's either Department of Interior or Department of Agriculture, depending on which agency I'm looking to get a hold of, and let them know that if Trump wants to help rural red Oregon, the Republicans in this state, the best thing he could do is free up that federal money in the counties where there are majority Republicans, and then it gives us the ability to fight against the woke agenda. So I don't know if he realizes that.
She dropped all the regulations on green energy so that they could get it passed by July 4th, because that's the deadline. Okay. So they're going to open up, I don't know, some billion board feet of timber that's supposed to be opened up for harvest, which is great, but who's going to mill it? There's 2 mills left in Coos County, like full-size production mills left in Coos County, and everybody's shutting down. Why don't we drop regulations on that, get some mills opened up so that we can harvest this timber, and then maybe we'd have another productive economy.
Yeah. And then we wouldn't have to, like you said, that would cover the taxes that they're struggling for right now, because the county was really wealthy back in the day when we had that timber money coming in here. And that's why we had the lowest taxes. We didn't need it. The resources paid for itself. So no, I wanted to do that because I'm a little disappointed by that. And, he needs to give us every availability to fight against the blue wave that we have in Oregon. And I think if he understood that, if he empowers, 29 out of the 36 counties who are completely red counties, who vote red, who the majority of us are Republicans. It's back ass words, and so.
Yep.
Anything you would like to say before you get out of here?
No, we appreciate the community and we appreciate the support. You guys have all been awesome. We've got incredible clients, and look forward to making new clients. Again, we're doing our best to stay ahead of everything and keep the communication going and jobs scheduled and on time. I don't know if winter's coming, so if you got some sketchy trees that you don't really, you're kind of iffy about, give me a call. I'll come over and take a look at them, let you know what I think. Fairly educated. I did go to college for this, so educated opinion about what I think of your trees, and if they need to come out, we'll take them out. If they don't, we won't. I don't want to take a tree out unless we need to. And so 541-294-1800. Give me a call and we'll get something figured out. And again, Rob, I appreciate you and all you're doing for us, and just keep up the good work.
Before you go, you said something that now is going to bug me if I don't ask you this question. You said you went to college, and we know how liberal woke the colleges are. So can you tell the difference between a male and female tree?
Yep. One's got cones and one doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seeds.
Oh, wow. And see, I've been feeling around the roots. I thought you could tell by this.
No. You go to jail for that. That's a felony, Rob.
Well, I just tell them I'm a tree hugger. I don't do it because I'm an environmentalist. I'm just a pervert. So thanks, man. Thanks, man. You take care.
Take care.
Matt?
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
Be around. And that was Matt Holman. I enjoy seeing him. And by the way, he played Where's 3H Tree Service earlier today, and we had a winner, $50 to that nice couple. I wasn't able to capture the picture quick enough to get it for the show, but they were really good. And I do have to go back to a comment that was on here by Chris Castleman. Chris Castleman is saying Republican meetup Thursday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. Location to be announced shortly, but in the Coos Bay North Bend area. That's right, in the Coos Bay North Bend area. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I got to go. I had a timeline of what I wanted to cover here. And James, I will get back to the milling tax and the storage units. That's a Coos County issue, not a Coos Commissioner issue, but that's okay. We'll go with that, and let's see if it all goes to Northern California. We can count the loads daily right here in Bandon of this beautiful timber being trucked out of our state because we don't have the mills to run it through. Too big. And I've heard that's a problem. But then again, I've heard that the mills can accommodate for that. I don't know if that's true or not. Someone was telling me that the mills can actually accommodate for the larger cuts if they have to, because I thought that too, James. I thought someone had told me that same thing. And I was talking to a guy who works in the mill, or he has something to do with the mill. He says, no, we can accommodate that. We can get those in bigger trees. So I don't know. Maybe I should call the mill sometime and find out where we are with that. But I want to get to another story that was happening. The Roseburg High School. Have you heard about this? You know, boys in the girls' bathroom, the same old story. It's happening all over Oregon. And I can guarantee you, your school has that same policy. Our schools here have that policy. There's not a damn thing they can do about it, because if they don't have that policy, the school can be sued by the state, and the individual counselors can suffer repercussions from this. And so I can guarantee you, Bandon, Coos Bay, Powers, even all of them, they have to yield to state law, and they have to allow boys in the girls' bathroom. And so it doesn't matter how Republican your school board is, they have to yield to that Oregon law. And we know what happens if they don't. Well, we know what happened to Dave Brown. Like I said, he's the vice chair of the Republican Party. Well, he was on the school board in Newburgh, and he was fighting against the gay flag policy. Good for Dave. I don't think they should be flying any flag but the American flag in an American school. Just my prejudicial opinion. And so, as a colonist, as a white racist, maybe I'm opinionated about that. But to be honest with you, I don't think that they should be having any other flags other than the American flag. And on flag, and you know, we used to learn flag symbols in the Boy Scouts. We would have, we actually had a badge for identifying American flags. I don't know if you guys were in the Boy Scouts, the Webelos, but we had a badge for identifying American flags, and we had to identify a certain amount of flags to be able to qualify for the merit badge. And Jeff Peace put up there the POW flag as well. See, maybe that's the slippery slope. And I wouldn't really have a problem with the POW, prisoners of war flag. I think that's something we should definitely remember. But like I said, going back to the Boy Scouts, maybe schools should teach a little bit of history and what the different flags mean, because you know, the stars and stripes, that is our battle. That is really our battle flag. That's our flag for when we are waging a war. And there is a peace flag. I don't know whether you knew it, but the peace flag is just, it's a really wimpy flag. You know, one of these days I'll go over that. Maybe we'll go over all the different flags. You know, we had, when we used to do the flag waves down in Coos Bay, I have an array of all kinds of different flags out there. And so Dave Brown, he wanted to go against this. And of course, he got sued on the school board. And I don't know how much. I think he lost 6 figures. It cost him 6 figures. It went to the 9th Circuit. They kicked it back, said the school district was in its right to go ahead and allow boys to ogle young ladies in the locker room as long as they identify as women themselves. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. Well, this is going on in Roseburg. And once again, I can assure you, this is eventually going to happen in everyone's school. This is going to happen in your school. I've got a granddaughter going to school here in Bandon, and at a certain time, one of these young men are going to say, I'm a young woman and I need to shower with the girls. I need to change with the girls. I don't know, at 17, if all I had to do was tell the school administration that I identified as a girl so that I could go shower and change with the girls, I'm all in. I identify as a woman. Let's go. Party on in the ladies' locker room. And so that right there should tell you, no, we shouldn't be allowing young high school boys the opportunity to ogle young high school girls. This is absolutely abhorrent. And any person who's ever been in the locker room, and this is true for boys and girls, this is true for men and women, people in general, nobody likes getting naked in front of other people. Nobody enjoys that. And I hated PE. We always had to take a shower after PE. 30 boys in the shower, butt ass naked. It was just like Lord of the Flies. It was something I hated when it happened. I didn't want to experience it then. I never want any child to have to go through that now. Personally, maybe everything should be single serve. You know what I mean? What's wrong with having a little bit of privacy in our schools? And so this is happening in Roseburg. And I happen to know that one of the school board directors of Roseburg, Steve Hammerson, he's been on this show before. And I got an interview with him in front of the Roseburg City, or the Roseburg Courthouse in Roseburg this past Saturday, and he'll give you an explanation of what's going on. I thought it was a pretty good interview, and this lasts about 15 minutes. So here you go. With Steve Hammerson from the school board. He's the school board director, and we're going to be discussing, he's going to be telling us some of the things that have been going on in the school concerning young men being in the young ladies' locker room. What's going on in Roseburg?
It kind of has to begin with Oregon state law. So since 2007, we've had 6 ORSs, or Oregon revised statutes, that have essentially stated that biological males can go into biological female locker rooms and restrooms, and vice versa. So the most recent court case regarding this is in Dallas School District. That was in 2020. It went up to the Ninth Circuit Court, which is, I think, is about as high as it can go in the state Supreme Court. And then the federal government, I believe it was Biden at that time, was like, yeah, we're good with the decision, we're not going to hear it. So and that situation is exactly the same as ours, except it's vice versa on the biological sex of the individual. But yeah, I mean, the reason that we're here is because Oregon state law has mandated that we have to allow biological males into female spaces and vice versa. The only way that you can fix that is if you go either through the legislative process or through the judicial process. So there's, here's a little promising note. There's a court case filed in July in Forest Grove School District. And I should note that the 2020 Dallas court case, Dallas District Court case, that was 501c. I think it was Oregon's rights or parents' rights or something, and some parents that filed against the ODE. This athlete case is also, I think, America First, some 501c with that, and 3 students from Forest Grove School District that have filed a case against OSAA and ODE. So you kind of see the pattern there. You know, right. It's the student or the parents, it's an organization, and they are taking action against either ODE or OSAA in the athlete case. I feel like I'm talking way too long, but
no, you're talking actually because it's a complicated issue, and people they're ticked off, and of course they're going to blame the school board because they're going to blame you for allowing women in the men in the women's locker room or the girls' locker room. These, to me, they're not even women yet. These are girls under the age of 18, and young boys are going to be allowed to be in with the girls, and that is the big heated question. And I have a problem with that. I have a granddaughter. I really don't want them there. You probably don't want them there either, Steve, right? I mean, this is something you're
I mean, I even stated so in the school board meeting on 3 days ago on Wednesday at Sunny Slope. You know, my director's report, I basically made a statement. I said that, I have a loved one who their space was violated in the worst way, in my opinion, and that I don't agree with it. Now, that's my personal stance.
Right.
And I believe that there are several board members on our board. I can't speak for them, but I have a feeling that they also have a similar personal stance. But you have to separate your personal stance with your board director position, right? Which is very, very tough. You have to act out of intelligence and not emotion, and you have to abide by the state law. Now, let me tell you why you have to abide by.
Thank you. I was going to ask that question.
Right, because it's painful and it hurts and it just wrenches at your everything. So here's a story I'll tell you. Newburgh School District, they did a flag ban. Right, so in Newburgh School District, all of the classrooms, they were putting up LGBTQ flags, pride flags, BLM flags, politically motivated messaging through flags in the classrooms, right? So there was a majority conservative board in Newburgh School District. They decided to basically do a ban and say, that may be what everybody does in the state of Oregon, but in Newburgh School District, you're going to have either the American flag or the Oregon state flag, and that's it. Every other flag, no. Went to court. They got eviscerated because it was in direct conflict with Oregon state law. So the end result is none of the board members got their seats back. They all were cycled out and woke board members were elected. So now they have a woke board. The issue is even more rampant in Roseburg School District. There's, political propaganda flags everywhere. So that was the opposite of what the policy intention was. And, on top of that, to me, this is the lower level of it. If I can lose a lot and I'll still be okay. If it's money, even to the point where certain issues, the price is my life. You have to operate that way.
You're willing to die on this
death.
hill. You're willing to die on this hill because you don't want men in girls' bathrooms.
No.
But you have to do it smart enough because you've seen what happened in Newburgh,
right,
where they went against the grain. They fought it in court. They lost because the Oregon court system, it's ruled by the Democrats. It's a woke court system. We'll never get a good judgment out of there.
Right.
So you're going to lose every time you go up there. And of course, if it, like you said, it's a state issue, it will go to the Ninth Circuit Court. They're a circus. They'll send it right back. And then you will be replaced, and you'll be replaced with a much more liberal, woke board who's not able to fight this garbage from the inside. And that's something you've been trying to do with every vote that you make on the school board, fight against the woke agenda. You're the one who reviews what books go into the libraries, pretty much. You look at the
And you have some discretion in there.
Yes.
And it's very important to have at least a little discretion to say, we're going to membrane our kids away from whatever, 20% of whatever this is.
Right.
The other thing that you don't think about, in Newburgh, the ACLU showed up and kind of walked around and was like, who's got 100 mil? Who's got 100 mil? They're scary when they show up into town.
Yeah.
AOC was in Newburgh parading around. They turned it into a circus, and they want to empower a very small percent of society. Out here, it would be even more, in Douglas County, it'd be even a smaller percentage. But they show up. There's activists on the other side, and again, it's public school, it's not Christian school, right? So it's America. You can live however you want. You can be religious or not religious, or left or right, or whatever you want to be. In public school, we're never going to force it into, what a lot of people in this town would want it to be. But so there, yeah.
Let me ask you this. So if someone came up to you, someone very powerful, someone in politics, say the president says, hey, look, Roseburg School District, you got to fight this. You got to fight this, and you got to vote against this and go against Oregon. You've got the president telling you you have to do that. Is there at some point that you think that you have to flip that script and turn it to where you're going on the
offensive,
the defensive, yeah, no, offensive. You're going on the offensive. You're defending yourself now. So you go on the offense because that's what the president is demanding. You vote against these laws. Would you be willing to do that at that point if you had some type of political backing?
Personally, in my situation, knowing that I would need a majority on my board, I would say if you want to pay for my board director's legal fees, then they'll probably do it with you.
That would be what and that's kind of where I was leading to.
Yeah.
If you could find something like, and I'm not saying them, but Judicial Watch,
yeah,
they've already have a lawsuit here.
Yeah.
If someone came in and said, look, we'll cover it. We'll use our lawyers. We will fight this battle and we will cover it.
Yeah.
And so that would be the type of thing that you could do, because right now the other school board members, they may not be in a position where they could give up their jobs, their houses, and the money that they may have to pay because they get sued personally.
Yeah.
That's like the Roseburg School District. In
Right.
fact, Dave Brown, who's the vice chair of the Republican Party, was on that board, and he voted against what the boy being in the girls' bathroom, and he pays a price, and he's happy to pay that price, and you're happy to pay that price.
Well, Dave Brown was the flag ban. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he over 6 figures in personal court fees at
Right.
least. I'm not going to talk numbers with him, but it was like a buddy of mine was like, he definitely paid personally over 6 figures, because the school board's going to protect you if you're following the law.
Right.
No matter how insane the law is. And I've had this conversation a couple times with, board directors where I'm just like, well, what if they legalize rape? what if they legalize raping a kid? And they go, oh, that'll never happen. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
With the way that we're moving, you know,
Right.
I was telling a former pastor a day ago, I said, I feel like I need to do a big mural of a bus going off a cliff. It's on fire. All the Republicans inside the bus are beating the hell out of each other. And the Democrats are on a ledge shooting Tomahawk missiles at the bus while it flies down.
Right.
Because that's kind of how it feels.
And celebrating why they do it. Right. Yeah.
So you got to get thick-skinned patience to deal with all the
So
craziness,
let's go back to the most important part of this. The
Yeah.
girls who are being violated and boys who are going to take advantage of this.
Yep.
Students walked out. Tell me, do you think they have a right to walk out?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Freedom of expression is, that's your First Amendment right.
So you stand with the kids.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, did you actually go out and stand with the kids?
No. I was at work.
Okay, so but you would have if you would have been off work. Would you do something like that? Would you stand with the kids in a protest and say, I agree with you, but here's the consequences?
If they asked me to.
Right.
Yeah. If they asked me to, then I would. But
Now, let me ask you this. If you get an overwhelming amount of those young girls, their parents, and the rest of Douglas County, the school district here in Douglas County, to start signing a petition asking you to make that decision, would you do it depending on how many people put on that, put their signature on it?
I would have to abide by Oregon state law in my position. I'm willing to sit down and have coffee with any parent, any kid that wants to know an effective avenue to deal with this. Like I said with the 2025 athlete case,
Yeah.
the Trump administration is on it. They have federal investigators on that case. So, I'm not asking anybody to spawn litigation, but if the Trump administration is paying attention to that case, you would think if there's a problem with biological males in female sports, and there's a problem with biological males in females' spaces, you'd want a court case for each one during this administration.
How do we get in contact with their administration? You're a school board member. What would be the best way? Could a school board member get the attention of the president on something that, to me, is so fundamentally wrong, so immoral, and something that is so important to the president? It seems to me if we could get you in contact with him, there could be an avalanche for this school board. I think people would have an awakening of what's really going on out here.
If I knew a way, I would try it. I don't really think so, though. I think that a court case gets the attention. That'll get the attention of people like Harmy Dillon, people like,
Right.
They pay attention to court cases. So if there's a court case coming down the pike that they want to pull or take a look at or put an opinion on, I think that's the most effective avenue to
And I
change.
know you personally. One of the things I know about you is you do have a good character. You've worked for a lot of good causes. And if you were in a court case like that and they said, we want you to testify, you would tell them exactly what you're telling me now because that's exactly what you believe. Isn't that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said before, I know it's kind of drastic to say you just have to operate in a way that, my price is my life. But I mean, that's how you have to be on issues. If I get recalled for being transparent and trying to, provide some clarity to the way that I operate and the way that society operates, and I get recalled for that, or if something bad happens from that, I can sleep at night. I don't really have an issue with that. And the one thing I did want to bring up a little earlier. There's two people that you deal with when you're a public servant. Really, there's the people that want to sit there and point the finger and say, fix it for me, I don't ever want to lift a finger, and then there's the people that are willing to be informed. And so you kind of got to do this process of weeding out who you're dealing with. But my narrative a lot lately has been, if you see problems in society or you see issues that need to be fixed, you have to do something about it. Like, you have to either sign a petition or volunteer at a pop-up or run in a school board race or some sort of public service. You have to do something to inspire and fix the change. And So it's kind of tough because, you got to figure out which one's which when they're coming at you. And then once you finally figure out, oh, this is just the person who wants to point and yell, then you kind of go, all right, well, I just got to ignore that email and move on. But, people change too. So I don't know, it's tough. But I mean, my wife is the chief petitioner for End Vote by Mail. She's a Republican PCP. She's a transportation board director. We're raising 3 sons. We both have career jobs.
Right.
It's constant fight to try to fix stuff in this state because the state's really messed up because of vote by mail. There's been 30 or 40 years of these liberal policies that have just made this state worse and worse and worse. And the bad legislators and the bad lawmakers make bad policy and bad laws. And we've just been going down, like I said, this flaming bus. And, people come up and they're like, why is this happening? And then they point at you and you go, it's all tied together.
I love how you tied that together. I was just going to say, I love how you tied in vote by mail, because that really is what it has led to, is we have been bamboozled with our electoral system, and we've got a lot of bad politicians in there who keep pushing a really bad woke agenda.
Yep.
And we can't fix it until we fix the sabotage system. And until that happens, people like you are needed on the inside to continue to get the information out, to try to persuade the people on the inside to go your way and prevent things happening before they do happen. And
when you get those inside positions too,
Yeah.
you have to act. I think the Newberg situation is an example of it. You have to act with intelligence, and you can't act with emotion. Because if you act with emotion about this kind of stuff, then you get yourself kicked off the board. The vacuum turns into a woke agenda, and then it's all gone.
And you're going to work on, and then I saw you had a video. You're all working on privacy. So you are working on private stalls, curtains, getting stuff done. So it's not like
No, our board is one of the best boards in the state, and we are 2 days after the board meeting where they are all speaking out. We were doing a learning walk in the high school, physically in there, paying attention to, or just learning about what we can do to up privacy. Like, we can't change the law, but what can we do? We can up privacy in this area. So, that was the goal.
And that's something that...
And that's a working process.
Right.
We can't make decisions when we're doing
and
a
that's
learning
the
walk,
thing, if you had someone who, because like I said, if you get a lawsuit, you're going to face, I guarantee you, either a recall or they're not going to re-elect you for the next election. It's just, it's hard when you face those type of things.
I think the worst thing is you'll have a local court case that inspires bad actors to do bad things.
Right.
Because they'll say, see, look at this. I can do whatever I want, and then it'll run rampant.
Right.
Right. So you got to be real careful with that stuff. The situations that we've dealt with over time that I've seen, I can't speak for all of them, but I've seen a few of them. They've been, there's a lot of care and concern and respect on both sides. Of the people that, see one way and the people that see the other way. The approach has always been, we care about the student. We want what's best for the student. How about, let's go down a path of, can we do this? Can we provide an extra accommodation for this student to avoid any kind of, nasty back and forth or bad? But, it only goes so far until you finally run up against somebody that has a political agenda and they want to
and legislative law.
Yeah.
You've got legislative restrictions.
Well, yeah, and they got the law on their side. So.
And they've got the law and the courts on their side. Yep. Well, I appreciate you talking with me.
Thanks,
and
Rob.
What's your position?
I am Roseburg School Board Director, position 5.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. And take care. And there we go. That was Steve Hammerson talking about the situation in Roseburg. And there were a lot of wild rumors going around. Even Rick Dancer he got some of the story wrong. And I know Steve had talked to Rick Dancer and tried to correct some of the wrong things he had said. And I'm not sure if Rick had corrected that, but I was going to get in contact with Rick Dancer. But there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes I can't go into now, but I want you to know that Steve this is a deep issue that's near and dear to his heart. He doesn't want anyone to have to feel will violate it. And like I said, anyone who has ever been in high school PE, I didn't like showering with other dudes, man. Like I said, 30 guys in a shower. It's just not fun. It's just not right. And so I don't know what's wrong. If you're going to make kids shower, then give them some stalls to shower in. And the thing is that that's okay for the boys if the boys want to shower in the stalls, but if they want to shower with the girls, we got a problem. And I want to go back to a comment that was made by Jeff Pete. He said, make all locker rooms co-ed and watch what happens. And of course, I wrote back to Jeff. I said, Jeff, it would be like what happens at a co-ed college dorm, but we were all over 18. And I don't know if you guys remember your college experience. I went to college, not for the classes, but for the chicks. I mean, I spent a lot of time in co-ed college dorms and the girls' college dorms. They used to sneak us into the girls' college dorms. It was a great time. But that was when I was over 18. I was a young adult at that point in time. And isn't that what college is for? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and maybe getting an education. I don't know. At this point, maybe the sex, drugs, and rock and roll is better for the college kids. It's because the education they get is so woke and so screwed up. It's worse than anything they can learn on the streets. But my point is that this is not right for high school kids. These are kids. These are children. These are girls who are going through an age in their life where they don't want to open up and undress, probably not even in front of other girls. So we need to develop this privacy. And I know Steve Hammerson is working, tried to make it so that there's changing rooms in there, so that there's stalls that they can change in, but it should never be co-ed. That should not be the law. There should not be a boy in the girls' restroom. And that's exactly what they want. So Jeff, what you're saying, they should make it out co-ed. That's what they want. And from what I've heard, in some districts, they now have restrooms where it's unisex, where you can go in and it's just like I said, the stalls are all closed off. So you're in a private room inside the bathroom, but men and women are using the same restroom. And I kind of have a problem with that. I don't want to go to the restroom with women because, well, you got to do things that are unpleasant in the bathroom. And I don't want to share it with the opposite sex. I just, I don't even like sharing it with people of my own sex. So this is just, I don't know. It's just a very disgusting conversation. And I'm going to tie it into a lot of things, but I got to go back and go through some stuff. Chris Gassman says, that was a great interview. I appreciate Steve Hammerson and his perspective. Good people in Douglas County. And you're damn right. And this issue isn't over. I've got to bet that this issue is going to go national. I know some things that are happening behind the scenes. I've talked to some pretty influential people, and they are getting things done to help out these school districts. And I want to say, everyone out there who's working behind the scenes, if you happen to be watching the show, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping out, because even when we're all Republicans, we all don't get along. But when it comes to an issue this important, we should all get along. We should put aside all of our personal differences, and we should come together to protect these young ladies and maybe the young men too. I don't know this, because I don't know. I back in my day, maybe if you walked into a girl's bathroom, you might get the hell beat out of you. So I don't know. But Samantha says it's human rights abuses from the state. And if the board hires a constitutional attorney, they can beat it. And so that may be happening. Who knows? Who knows? But the thing is, Samantha, is that it's going to cost a lot of money to fight this in court. The people who are fighting it, the people on the school board, could lose a large amount of money. Even if they win in the end, it still can cost them a lot of money. And so they are going to, the board, I don't think, has the backbone, other than Steve. I really don't know the rest of the board, but other than Steve, I don't think they have the backbone to fight this, unless they had some high dollar attorneys backing them, telling them that they don't have to worry about the legal bill because they will help them out in court. Unless that happened, there is no way that these people, these average citizens, so it's going to have to happen from above. And it is in certain ways. The president is cutting off funding for the state to pressure them to stop this woke agenda. I think through the legal system, the feds are also going to be able to start pressing, sex violations. I think this is a violation of women's rights, and I think these are charges that could be on a federal level. So yeah, human rights, natural rights, yeah. I agree with you on that, Samantha. And Jeff B said, climbed into many a window, Rob Taylor. Yeah, I know. Those were the days. Those were the days. I went there to meet one girl. I remember one time throwing rocks at the window, and I had a 6-pack of I don't know what, and throwing windows at the dorm windows, rocks at the dorm windows. And so, yeah, those were the days. Those were the days. I imagine that probably doesn't happen too much today. I don't know about college campuses. They would probably arrest you as a stalker and file charges against you under the Me Too movement. I don't know. I'm not sure how that would happen. Chris Castleman, he made a good comment. He says the mandate feminine hygiene products in the boys' bathroom, but not urinals in the girls' bathroom. They're not consistent with their insanity. And that's true. Why don't they have urinals in the girls' bathroom? Well, we know why, because they're not, girls don't have the apparatus to use the urinals. And if they did, it would be really messy if they used the urinals. So yeah, that's good point. Good point, Chris. Jeff P says they won't want co-ed for long. No, they won't. And I go back, I don't know if you guys remember in Powers, that big story about the girls showering with the boys. It does happen. What can I tell you? Alex Bowser says, how are Coos County schools dealing with this issue or that issue? They're buckling. They have no choice. They're buckling. But here's the thing. They probably don't have any trans students yet. But I assure you, if the high school in Coos Bay, if they did have a trans student and the girls are having to shower with them, I'm willing to bet one of the girls would have a problem with it. At least one girl. I just can't see all the Coos County rural Oregon girls, in Coquille especially, or Myrtle Point, if they had a trans student. So unless you have a trans student that's going to be able to use that policy, the policy is kind of moot. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter. So that's really how they're dealing with it. You know, it's like, well, we got the policy, but we're just hoping that Timmy doesn't become Tammy and we have to allow him in the girls' bathroom, because then it's going to be a problem. So the Douglas County School District, the Roseburg School District, may be a spearhead for this in Oregon. Something really good may come out of this, and I'm hoping so. And like I said, behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff happening. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. 3H Tree Service says willow, ginkgo, ash cedar all have male and female, oak, maple, hickory, and birch, as well as our state tree, the Douglas fir, have both male and female productive parts. Monocoeus have both monocoeus, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, have both male and female parts, and dioecious have male and female trees. It's complicated. Yeah, hell, just the names of those things are complicated. Ivan Hawker says she, we, yeah, I don't know. Someone went we, and she went we, and she wasn't a she was a he, went we, and that was the problem. But one of the rumors that came out of Roseburg was that this young transvestite student, this transgender student, was helicopter dicking in the locker room, and that didn't happen. There was nobody whipping their penis around in the locker room. That didn't occur. So when those reports went out that there was some transgender whipping his penis around in the girls' locker room, that did not happen. So I just wanted to make sure you all knew that. Lighthouse School doesn't play that shit. And that's the great thing about these private schools. I'm not sure if they have to follow the same state laws. I'm not sure how they're guided by that. But yeah, I don't know. I think there'd be some serious problems if they force the private schools, or the private schools. Why would you go to a private school if you knew they were going to do this? That's one of the reasons people pull their kids out of public school, put them in private school, because they don't want the helicopter dicking happening in their girls' locker room. And so, not that it happened in Douglas County, but like I said, you put a boy in a girl's bathroom, anything could happen. So I want to tie this to some of the things we're doing. And Steve Hammerson kind of touched on the point, but I think I have to make it here why this is important. Policy. What did I tell you? I've told you before. Why do we get people elected? Why do we run initiatives? Why do we fight referendums, fight with referendums? Well, policy. Policy is created through law. And to change the law, you have to use different instruments. And to use those different instruments, you have to engage either the party itself at the county or state level, or you have to run an initiative where you can do it by yourself without a party, but it's a lot more harder without that party apparatus. So why are we doing this? To change policy, to change the policy here in Oregon so that girls aren't suffering from boys being in the locker room. Most girls. I imagine there's a few girls who kind of don't mind the boys being in the girls' bathroom. I don't know. I don't want to go into that. But it is a plight, and all schools are probably going to face this at some point in time. The question is eventually going to come up, and we want to change that policy. Can it be done by the feds? Can it be done by the courts? I don't know, but I know it can be done by the legislature. The legislature instituted this policy through law, through legislation, and we have to get rid of this policy, and we can do it through the same way. And how do you do that? Well, you've got to have fair elections so you can get your candidate elected. So in essence, this whole thing about boys in the girls' bathroom is connected to the end vote by mail election integrity issues and precinct voting. All of that we do on those levels, when we run initiatives, when we try to get PCPs into the party to make sure the party is electing the right candidates and picking the right candidates, choosing the right candidates, what we're doing is we're trying to change that policy. And that's why we work on these initiatives. And this is why we work to get PCPs into those positions in the Republican Party. And by the way, a PCP is a precinct committee person. We're accepting applications for the Republican Party. Well, the Democrats are accepting applications right now. You can file with the county clerks. You can go to the county clerk's office and you can file to be a precinct committee person. And I recommend you do. If you're watching the show and you live in a county where you're tired of the way the Republicans are running the county party, you need to become a precinct committee person so you get a vote on the committee. This is very important. This is very important here in Coos County because we're trying to get the party out of the hands of a bunch of rhinos who are now holding it hostage. We've got 49 people who want to be precinct committee people. 49. Actually, well, I'm sorry, 47 who want to be precinct committee people. And well, let me put that another way. It's 47 people are signed up to run in the May election to become PCPs, because even the PCPs who are current PCPs, their term is up in May, this coming up May in 2026. So we need people to run for that position. Well, right now we have 47 people registered to run for that position. Of that 47, 42 of them are brand new PCPs. They've never been PCPs before. Well, except me, I've been a PCP before. And we're all running for that position and we're all willing to be appointed, and the chair won't appoint us. The reason we want to be appointed is so we can start working on those important issues to help change policy. And that's why we are doing this build-up to the Republican Party. And this build-up is to help us to change those policies so that girls don't have to suffer from taking a shower with boys. See, this is all connected. This is all interrelated. And one of the things we got going on now, let me see if I can add this to the stage. There we go. Let me take this comment out. We're going to have a pop-up booth this week at Uncle Randy's parking lot from 4 to 6. And we've got a lovely lady who's going to be helping us out with that. And she's going to be there from 4 to 6. And this is the only pop-up signature booth that we are having this week. Me and Marty are taking off because, well, we need a little bit of a break. And this week, we are going to have the other petition come out, the petition to help us stop repeal the tax package that was just passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. She hasn't signed it yet. By the way, I just checked. She still hasn't signed it because she's trying to put off us being able to get those signatures and to fight this and repeal this bad law. And tonight there's going to be a meeting, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But, excuse me, if you want to sign the 2 petitions, because the governor recall petition, we've already sent that back. But if you want to sign this petition, go to Uncle Randy's in Coquille, and next week we will have our regular pop-up booths. But right now, no pop-up signature booths this week in Bandon and Coos Bay. We'll be back next week, and we'll be at the regular places, we think, for right now. It just depends. Like I said, there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and not just in Roseburg, but here in Coos County. And so we think that next week we're going to be able to do those. We'll be bringing those pop-up booths back. We may have a big announcement. Well, we have a big announcement, but I don't know if it's locked in. We haven't finalized everything, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing these pop-up booths, but just not this week. Only at Uncle Randy's are we having a pop-up booth. But you can find out more by going to Recall Cotec, OregonForThePeople.com. If you can see that on the screen. That petition, well, for all intents and purposes, you need to sign it. And if you haven't signed it, we've already sent them in. So we need to, so that's pretty much, for all intents and purposes, it's done. It's done. But the end vote by mail, you can still go to endvbn.com right there. You got the website, and you can download a single signature petition sheet, and you can sign it and send it to the chief petitioner yourself. Or you can wait, if you're here in Coos County, you can wait until we're doing a pop-up booth and come out to the pop-up booth, because we're going to do that next week. And we're going to do the vote before tolls because, well, why? We want fair elections and we're tired of getting taxed. So we're doing both of those initiatives. Then we have a referendum that is hopefully going to be coming out, and that is the No Tax Oregon. Tonight there's a meeting, and if you want to help out on gathering signatures for the No Tax Oregon referendum that's going to be coming out, you need to go to notaxor.com, notaxor.com. It's right there at the bottom of the page here. You can see that at the bottom of your screen, notaxor.com. And we are having a Zoom meeting tonight, and it's going to explain to you how and where you can get involved. I've already signed up. I'll be at the meeting tonight. We will be doing our best to figure out what their strategy is and how we're going to get all these signatures done. And from what I understand, we've got so many volunteers already. I'm willing to bet we already have half the signatures. Just saying, we're doing pretty good for that. By the way, Jeff B says, thank you to you, Marty and Brandy, for busting your butts on these petitions. And it was our pleasure, and you're welcome. And it's been a really learning curve. We've had a lot of, it's good to get back in the streets and in the trenches to be able to talk to people. And that's one of the best things that you can do in politics, because you find out really how much support you have out there. And we have a lot of support out there. There's a lot of people who like what we're doing. And when I say we, I include a huge group of people, a couple of hundred of people who do so much for this county that are just go unknown, the unsung heroes of Coos County. They're out there. There's a lot of unsung heroes of Coos County. And that's why I try to bring some of them here on my show to show you some of these heroes. Some of these guys are really cool. I look at Steve Hammerson. I just had him on. He's fighting this. I look at him as a hero, and I hope he follows through on all of this. I know he will. I know his character. So this is all good stuff that we got to keep fighting for. But this is why we do it, to change policy. Now, I know I don't have an initiative up here so that I can stop boys from showering with girls in the high school locker room, but we're going to get to that. Eventually we'll get to that. If it's not fixed in the courts, we may get to the point where we have an initiative And so that's why you got to keep up on these petitions. But if you want to help us get signatures, go to No Tax Oregon and check out the Zoom meeting tonight. It would behoove you to do that. And then there's going to be big news about the Republican Party. It's going to be announced on the Coos County Citizen Council on Wednesday. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Coos County Council. They are a Facebook group. They're a group for the county, and they do. Chris helps run that group. I'm trying to find the. Here we go. Let me add that. The Coos County Citizen Council this Wednesday is going to be a big announcement. We got something done that we've been wanting to do for a long time. And I know this is a teaser, but I haven't finalized the deal. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to finalize it. And we're going to have a big announcement. Chris is going to have a big announcement for all of us on Coos County Citizen Council. And like I said, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I can't reveal. And I hate to give you these teasers, but that's why I tell you, you got to stay tuned. You got to keep coming back and keep checking on my website, keep checking on Facebook, on all these different Facebook pages like Coos County Citizen Council. And we hopefully will get that, all of those messages out to you when they happen, all those notices when they happen. Peggy says, Jeff is my hero locally. Jeff is my hero. I like it. We got a lot of local heroes. Jeff, you know who's one of my favorite heroes is Sam Adams. Sam Adams just rocks, doesn't he? He's just so cool. He's one of my heroes. And here's another one of my heroes, Chris Castleman. Online form to sign up to be a PCP, and he gives you the little link to it, which really isn't so little. So I'm going to leave that up for a second, but that's where you can go to sign up for a PCP, because big things are happening in Coos County. Huge things. We're going to turn this county around. I've got nothing better to do. I don't have a radio show anymore, so I'm not focused on that anymore. So I might as well get back to focusing on the Republican Party and straightening out that mess, because we got a huge mess going on in the party. We got a bunch of people who don't want to appoint PCPs. They don't want to grow the party. They want to make a little special club just for themselves. And we're going to stop that, because the people have a right to be represented in Coos County. And right now, there are only 49 PCPs, 49 current PCPs who are serving as your representatives. And of that 49, you should have 198 people representing you here in Coos County. 198 is a hell of a lot more than just 49. So why? It's not that hard to recruit PCPs. I just recruited 3 more PCPs this morning. We've got 47 PCP applications ready to go for the May election. So it's not hard to do, and they all want to be appointed. So I'm not sure why Michael Brainerd is stalling on this, but we're going to find out. But this Wednesday on the Coos County Citizen Council, I believe that's at 6:00. Chris, is your show at 6:00? It is at 6, right? If you're watching, send me a message. But it's at 6:00, and that's going to happen this Wednesday. Huge message. Chris says, alternative, you can Google search SEL 105, and the first result should be the form on the Oregon Secretary of State website to file to be a PCP. Yes. Oh, and Jeff Pete says, Sam and Chris are fantastic. Yes, Sam and Chris are just badass. And Peggy says, Sam Adams. Yep, he's a good guy. She says, I love Sam Adams. I love Sam Adams too, the beer and the guy. He's great. Yeah. Jeff P says, you are pretty great too. Not me. No, I'm nobody. I'm just nobody here to have a good time. That's all I'm looking for, is just a real good time, because I like spending all my time at all these meetings and meeting all these interesting people and politicians. It's just a damn good thing. And I'm glad there's people like Chris and others who are getting aboard and just taking up the mantle. Chris came here from California, where he took up the mantle there, and there were so many who came out and allowed us to or came out with us when we were fighting against the COVID restrictions in 2020 and Antifa and BLM. It was a really cool thing. Chris Castleman says, yes, the Coos County Citizen Council live stream is every Wednesday at 6 p.m. This Wednesday, you better be watching. Huge, huge announcement. I'm so excited for this. And I know it's just a teaser, but like I said, I haven't finalized the deal. I think tomorrow morning I'm going to finalize this deal and it's going to be huge. You're going to love it. It's going to be better. Remember that Chinese billboard, that billboard that we put in Roseburg where it said David Brock Smith made in China? It's going to be bigger than that. It's going to be bigger than that. It's going to be huge. You're going to love this. And it's all for Coos County, man. It's all for Coos County. Good stuff happening here. So tune in to Coos County Citizen Watch. We'll talk about all the good things that they are doing there. So that's how I wanted to tie in the boys and the girls bathroom thing, is that we have to change the policy, and everything that we're working on, we're working to change those policies. And until we do, I really don't know what else we can do. I mean, at a certain point, I guess you may just have to pull your kids out of school, which I've got a granddaughter who's going into public school, but it's here in Bandon, and we're going to keep an eye on her, and we're going to make sure the teachers understand that we're sending you a girl. She's going to come home a girl, and she's not going to be using any pronouns that you try to convince her that she needs to be using. So we give our children, and like my son, I called it supplemental education. I had him reading Ayn Rand and Milton Friedman type stuff when he was very young. I mean, I taught him quite well when he was very young that capitalism is the most and best way to run economies, and the free market allows everyone to participate, should allow everyone to participate. And I don't know why our public schools has to be owned by the government. Compulsory education is part of the communist plank. Did you know that? Every time we tell kids you have to go to school and they force parents to send their kids to school, that's communism. People should want to send their kids to school. Kids should want to go to school. Back in the day, I remember reading stories how kids would run away from the farm where the parents wanted them to work, wanted them to do their chores. They would run off to the schools because they wanted to learn how to read and write. And at a certain point, we probably had a higher percentage of people, and I believe it was the indicator was the Civil War. Right after the Civil War, we had, and this included Black people, that could read at a higher grade level than what we have now. And especially they could write and read cursive. Right now, nobody's in the younger generation is not proficient at cursive at all. And so our ancestors were much more literate when it came to literacy and all the other things that you need to know to get through life. Our founding documents are written in cursive. Well, if you can't read cursive, then you can't really read our founding documents. So that means some commie can come along at some point in time and tell your kid, this is what it says, and this is what you need to do. And your kid's going to believe him because your kid can't read cursive. So we got to make the schools so that kids want to go to school. I mean, I hated the school. The school was and I go back to being forced to take showers with a bunch of dudes. I hate it, Jim. I hated taking showers with a bunch of dudes. It was just really weird. And see, the idea of forcing girls to take showers with boys, it's just a sadistic thing to do. And so we need to change our schools. And the only way I see that happening is if we privatize all the schools. If we just tied our tax dollars to the kid and we got rid of all public schools, we privatized them all, and then you get to decide where to send your kid. And then I can guarantee you we would have better educated kids and we'd have better schools the next day. And here's why. If you privatize the schools, and the schools, what do they do now? They have to make a profit. They have to make a profit, so they have to deliver a good education. That's how the market works. You know, the best car manufacturers are usually the ones who can deliver the best product. They're the ones who stay and stick around for forever. That goes for anything in the market. The best always rises to the top. This would be true with education. And people are so afraid of not having the government hold your hand and do everything for you. We got to have government for our health care. We got to have government for our retirement now. We got to have government for every single damn thing we do in life. Well, we don't need it. And we certainly don't need government in education. And if you're sick of the woke education that your kid's getting, it's because government's involved. It was eventually going to happen. In fact, that's what public schools were originally designed for. And you can go back and look at this. And you had fascists and communists and socialists who were all for public schools so they could promote each and every one of those ideologies. Did you know that Francis Bellamy, the one who tried to promote compulsory education, he did promote compulsory education. He wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. And it was a compulsory pledge at the time. He was a National Socialist. He was a fascist. Did you know that? The guy who wrote the Pledge of the United States was a National Socialist. I hate to break your heart. I know there's people out there who love saying the pledge and they think it's very patriotic. Go see who wrote it and go see why he wrote it. Because he wanted compulsory education and he wanted those kids. They wanted those kids to do this, put their hand out and pledge the allegiance. Did you know that this was the original salute to the Pledge of Allegiance? You think I'm a liar? Go look it up. That was the salute. And historians have debated whether Hitler saw that happening in American schools, and that's why he took that salute partially for the German population. Heil Hitler. That was the salute that American children used to do when they first were compelled to say the pledge in government schools. They call them public schools. They're government schools, and they're all for indoctrination. So if you're sitting there going, oh my God, how did we get to this point? Well, I can tell you how. We allowed government to get involved with our education. Look at the healthcare system. It's the same thing. We've allowed government to get into our healthcare system, and look how freaked up that is. Now, people with insurance still can't go to the doctor because their premiums are so high, they can't afford it. So they're paying a lot of money to their insurance and their insurance company, and yet they still can't go to the doctor. And I've talked to people over and over and over again. And why is that? Because government has made insurance so expensive because they pumped so much money into the healthcare industry that has inflated the cost beyond the affordability of the average person. This is why they're trying to gut Obamacare. We warned them. We told them that was going to happen back in 2008. They didn't believe us. They did not believe us. So this is why we're pushing these initiatives. This is why we need to get the party back online, because we need to get people in there who truly believe in those conservative American values. They believe that we need less government and more freedom. That's what the founding fathers believed. That's why they wrote a constitution which restricted the power of the government. Of course, it's before the ink ever dried on the Constitution, they were violating it. That's just the government. Government grows. It expands. It's like a cancer. It eats away slowly at the body. And here we are. Government is so big, they can now force your little girls to take showers with little boys. That's how big the government has gotten. And it's worse than that. The government is so big, they're paying for your mentally ill children to be sexually mutilated with transgender operations. That's how big government's gotten. And that's what I've been fighting my whole life, to get rid of big government. And it's only gotten bigger since I've started fighting. And that's why we need to find people who believe in those basic facts and want to start working towards that goal. And the one way to do it is to help us who are already involved build up that Republican Party and start these petitions and getting them out there so that we can get the signatures to put them on the ballot. It's the only thing we can do. I got to read some of the comments because I've been going on here for a few minutes. And I noticed Chris Tuff joined me, and I want to get to some of his comments. Jeff P says, I work 3 to 11. Boo. Yeah, I'm sorry. Someone's got to work, Jeff. You got to pay for all those bums out there. I mean, those junkies, they need that Narcan that's provided by the government. You know, that's how screwed up we are. People are killing themselves in the streets with drugs, and the government keeps bringing them back to life just so they can repeat that cycle. Big government. It's crazy. Chris Tuff says, hope Oregon can bring it around. I don't know, Chris, but I'm going to fight. You're a fighter. I love that event you did for Charlie Kirk. That was a cool event. That was really cool. I wish I could have gone. That was a very, very well organized, good event. And I've heard a lot of people tell me how wonderful that event was. When I see events like that and I see people coming together, such as the ICE facility, all those guys who just came together with that big old Charlie Kirk sign, I like to think there's hope for Oregon, Chris. I'd like to think there is. I don't know, but I'm going to fight like hell, man. And I need you, brother. And if you're still living in Coos County, I think you've moved out of the county, but if you're whatever county you're living in, consider becoming a precinct committee person. Get involved on a political level. It will eat up your time. There's no money in it. There's no reward other than maybe you might be able to change something in the government. And even if you don't, you tried. You know, I respect someone who actually tries more than someone who's, whatever. I'm not even going to vote. And I get those all the time. I see those all the time. I don't even vote. Well, then shut the hell up. Don't even talk to me. But Chris, I appreciate a lot of the things you're doing out there. He says, we will never do public school again. Yeah, and that may be the answer, Chris. You know, at Roseburg, if all the parents who are opposed to boys being in the bathroom with girls, if they just pulled their students out today, every single one of those parents who are opposed to that, see, they're mad at the school board directors because they won't go against the Oregon law. Well, then the parents should pull those kids out of the school. If you don't like what they're being forced to do on the board and what the state is doing to your children, then maybe you need to get your children out of the custody of the state. And when your child is in school, they are in the custody of the state, and the state can pretty much do whatever the hell they want with them. So Chris, I agree with you. You're smart by pulling your kids out. And, you know, if it comes to the point where that may be something we may have to do here in Bandon, like I said, I got a granddaughter who's going into public school. We're pretty good at watching her. We're pretty good at making sure that she sees the bullshit that they're trying to feed her in school. Yeah, maybe we may have to do that. All of us parents collectively might just have to pull our kids out of school. And if we all did it, that would make a hell of a statement, because guess what, folks? The school stops getting money as soon as you pull your kid out. So if half the school pulled their kids out of school and said, no, we're just going to homeschool them, I guarantee you the state would turn around and give us what we want. We just have to fight for it, but we're not smart enough to collectively do that. I don't know. Chris says, my little girl was in school for 4 weeks. We pulled her out after the school showed us what they believed to be important. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Chris Castleman says, Google search John Taylor Gatto and his book, Dumbing Us Down, The Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling. Yeah, that's an old book. I haven't heard of that one in a while. That's a very good book, Dumbing Us Down. Yeah, I don't think I've actually read the book, but I've read parts of it. I've seen essays on the same type of thing, that compulsory education is communism, just like zoning. We're going to talk about that in a minute here too. Jeff P says, damn good idea. Well, thank you. We try. Peggy Rent says, I remember that from the 60s schooling. Yeah. Yep. Doug says, he says, this is Gail. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, thanks for watching, Doug and Gail. And as a retired veteran school teacher, I would recommend people avoid sending kids to public schools as they are now. Okay, folks, this is a teacher. This is a former teacher telling you this. Gail's a good friend of mine. She's a great lady. She's a God-fearing lady. She's a wonderful woman, a good conservative, a MAGA Trump supporting woman. She's really good, very solid. And she's telling you this. Listen to this. The tax money should follow the child, so make schools competitive by pleasing parents and complying to their wishes to educate their children properly. Also, to work around the Oregon laws at present, Roseburg High could have 2 showering and dress times assigned to students. The students with XX chromosomes showers after XY students have finished and exited the shower. Yeah, the gym, whatever. But yeah, that unfortunately, Oregon law goes against that. So I go with your first sentence. As a retired veteran school teacher, I would recommend people avoid sending kids to public schools as they are now. You know, I've talked to people who are teachers right now who are conservatives, who told me they wouldn't send their kids to the very schools that they're teaching at because the other teachers are commies. This is a retired teacher. And I can tell you, I've talked to current teachers who have said exactly what Gail is saying right there. And if that doesn't convince you, hell, man, I don't know what will. Rain Miller says, Chris Casamangado was instrumental in our decision to homeschool 30 plus years ago. See, I knew that was an old book. Compulsory education is bullshit. And they do that because it's a government school. They go, oh no, it's public school. Like we're all involved. All the parents are involved. And we know that's not true. The curriculum is picked out by the administration and forced down the throat, and the school board, it gets very little leeway of picking the curriculum, even though they do get some choice, they get some say over it. But in all intents and purposes, they get fed what the state feeds them, and it's not good stuff. And so compulsory education is just bad, bad, bad. Here, I got to put that comment up. I didn't even put it up. This is Rain Miller. She says, Chris Casamangado was instrumental in our decision to homeschool 30 plus children. And Doug says, this could work tomorrow. Yeah, it could. If everyone pulled their kids out of school right now, everyone who's ticked off, the schools would collapse. The dollars would go away. If we all said, screw you, we're doing homeschooling, we would win. But it just won't happen because we won't come together on that level. Jeff P says schools lose funding for every kid that is removed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it would only take 25% of the schools. It would only take 25% of the kids, but I'd be willing to bet you could get anywhere between 50 to 80% of the parents to want to pull their kids out of schools. If we could do it collectively, if we could just somehow make this protest and say, look, November's coming up and we're just going to take our kids out of the public school. That would be the best thing that could happen. But I don't know. I just don't see it happening. Let's see here. I did have a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about that's going on around the state. Let's see. The Oregon Catalyst had a pretty good article that I want to share here. Let's see. Get my share screen up there. And there you go. 6 bad taxes on the local November ballot. And there we go. So the Oregon Catalyst put this out, and I'm not the biggest fan of the people who run the Oregon Catalyst, but they do put out some good news. And if you can utilize it, go to theoregoncatalyst.com and sign up for their newsletter. It comes out almost every day. But they rated 6 bad taxes on the local November ballot. Portland Park Levy, look at that. Jackson County Transient Lodging to increase from 11% to 13%. You know what sucks about these hotel tax hikes? Is that 70% of it goes to tourism, to promote tourism. That's the law. That's the way they wrote these transient taxes for hotels and motels. And so 70% of it goes to tourism, usually goes into the pocket of the Chamber of Commerce of whatever county is putting on a transient tax or whatever city's doing so. And the rest of it, 30%, goes to infrastructure or to the sheriff's department, law enforcement, something like that. But it's 30 to 70. That's the inverse of what it should be. Near 200 million for shrinking school, West Lynn, Wilsonville, 190 million school bailout bond, measure 3, 629. Now this is going to be interesting because of what we were just talking about. Let me see if I can increase this. No, let's go back. Okay. So West Lynn, Wilsonville, 190 million school bailout bond, measure 3, 629. The district is cutting 15 million from its budget and firing staff because fewer students are enrolled. Yet they're asking taxpayers for a massive $190 million bond. This makes no sense. Why should taxpayers approve nearly 200 million in new debt for a district that can't balance its daily budget? No on measure 3, 629. But more importantly, why are they having fewer students? I can tell you why. The quality of education sucks and people are pulling their kids out of school. I mean, between the woke agenda and the lousy quality of education, they're just pulling this crap out. Let's see, Happy Valley, 50 million for luxury pool, gym, recreation center. This is something they wanted to vote on here in Bandon at one time. We killed it. I think it passed in North Bend to save the pool, the North Bend pool. They actually passed it there. So you have a tax in North Bend to pay for, other people to go swimming and work out at the gym and all that other good stuff. But here, Happy Valley, 50 million for unnecessary luxury recreation center. Yeah, that's great. Let's go here. 100 million for luxury pool, recreation center, library, parks. In McMinnville, 98 million, blank check, bond. And I don't know why people, we can't even get the government to fix our streets. We can't get the government to everything they do, from education to healthcare to delivering the mail. Have you been to the DMV lately? I mean, they're just lousy at doing their job. They're just incompetent on all kinds of levels. Let's see, Oregon Trail School District, 172 million for a bond measure for a school. Once again, it's a bond measure, so they must be building new schools there. But that's just some of the local taxes that are around the state. I haven't checked out. Let's see, from our perspective here in Coos County, wonder if we have any taxes out coming up on here. And by the way, I'm at the Coos County website. This is the clerk's. And let's see if I go up a little bit here. Elections. Let's go to elections. Let's go to the primary election and see if there's anything on the primary election. And actually, let's go back. Let's go back here, because it would be the November election. I apologize. The special election. That's what's been called. So we've got a special election. Of course, I just went one too many. And let's see. What is it? Coos County 6226 proposed annexation of Fairview RFPD. That's on the ballot. Fairview Rural Fire Protection District 6227 proposed annexation for Fairview RFPD. So I'm not sure why this is going on, but here we go. Let's see. Let's read the summary on this. This measure proposes the annexation of territory into the Fairview Rural Fire Protection District. The district provides firefighting and life safety services for 2 persons within the district, as well as 2 persons outside the district through mutual aid agreements. The territory proposed for annexation is depicted in the enclosed 11/17 map. For more information, contact Fairview RFPD. If the annexation is approved, the district will extend its property tax rate to the territory that is annexed to the district. The district's permanent property tax rate limit is 2.1741 per 1,000 of your property. The proposed annexation would not increase property taxes for real property located within the district's boundaries. Yeah. So you got to ask yourself, is that extra tax worth the safety of your house? I don't know. I don't live over in Fairview, so I guess we'll be voting on the county amendment measure the county measure here, we'll be voting on that. Then the people in Fairview will also be voting on that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens out. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to have to look at that. I don't know if I want to impose any more taxes on anyone else. And I guess if they want to do it to themselves, well, that's perfectly fine to me. So, yeah, that's interesting. I just wanted to show you that to you folks, because there's going to be a lot of garbage on the ballot, and you might as well know what garbage that is. And remember, like I said, this is why we're pushing the PCPs. In May election, we're going to take back the Republican Party for the people of Oregon, because that is going to show and demonstrate that people want to get involved. They want to be active in the party. So look for that election in May and sign up to be a PCP. Let's see, what else was there that I wanted to talk about? I had an article. I wrote an article, and I wrote it with a little bit of help from AI. I don't want people to think, that I'm lying to them, but I do use AI. The program I use when I write, it will give me corrections to grammatic corrections, and it will give me an alternative way to write the sentence better. And sometimes it actually helps me become a better writer, because then I can see that the way I'm writing it, it would be expressed better by doing it the way that the AI is recommending it. So I'm not the great genius or anything. AI does help me out with a little bit of this stuff. And I encourage you guys to use it, because I'm able to do a lot more work in a lot less time with the AI process. Let me see if I can get this sharing here. Share screen. I don't know why I didn't. There we go. So Coos Bay, they want to put a moratorium on storage units and tell you what to do. If you own property in Coos Bay, tell you what to do with your property. Now, the reason they're going to do this is explained in the article. Here it is. Closed for business. There's Mayor Benetti with his Benetti for Mayor sign. Yeah. And let me scroll down a little bit here. Coos Bay's storage ban reveals economic tyranny. And it is a form of tyranny. It is a form of tyranny. Anytime the government tells you what you can and cannot do with your property, that's tyranny. You have a right to own property, and you have a right to use it to its best purposes. Why else would we propose to even buy property? We might as well live in a communist state where only the state owns property. Because if they're going to tell us what to do with the property, well, shit, why should we own it? Why should I pay taxes on land that I'm being told what I can and cannot do on that land? But I wrote an article, and this is on the Rob Taylor Report, and it's on my Rob blog page. And I talk about what's going on in Coos Bay and how they have this proposal to storage unit moratorium. Yeah. These are the same people who wanted to put pride flags where the U.S. flag was on the boardwalk. Yeah, they wanted to take down our beautiful stars and stripes and put up that fag rag. Yes, we're going to put up the fag rag, and we're going to take down that beautiful stars and stripes. Well, I don't want the fag rag, and I went and fought against it. And you know what? They put a moratorium on their law. Instead of getting rid of this unconstitutional law, they put a moratorium on it. But they can't put up any fag rags. I don't want a fag rag on my boardwalk, but that's what they do. So this, now they're trying to tell us, these are the same people who wanted to put that gay pride flag and replace the American flag with it. Well, these people now want to tell you what to do with your property. They're a bunch of commies in Coos Bay, apparently, and it's economic tyranny in action. And of course, here's a great line. This is a great line. When city officials claim authority to determine highest and best issues or best use, they are giving themselves the power to decide who can and who cannot conduct business. And what a reason to take away your right to decide what to do with your property. Highest and best use. So what other industries are, you could do away with, because there's other industries that could move in and replace them and be a highest and best use industry? I mean, look, we pay for that Dolphin Theater. They gave $100,000 of urban renewal money, and everyone in the county put in for that money because we had to pay back the debt. And so they gave our tax dollars to the Dolphin Theater, $100,000. And then get this, They took $25,000 at one point and they gave it to that child molester, Henry Delaney. That's right. They gave our tax dollars. And then they want to tell us that we can't use our land for what we want to use our land for because they got a highest and best use policy. Wait until your industry falls under that category. Oh, Rob, I heard you talking shit about us here in Coos Bay. Well, your industry all of a sudden is not part of the highest and best use industry. We're going to put a moratorium on you growing your business. That's literally what they're telling you. If you're in a storage facility business, and I'm not, and I don't know anyone who is, I have no dog in this fight. I don't even live in the city of Coos Bay. And yet it pisses me off when some government fat cat bureaucrat tries to tell me and everyone else what we can and cannot do with our land. F you, buddy. F you, man. So economic tyranny in action. And this is happening. And so I hope you go check out this article. But more importantly, here's what's at stake. This October 14th, that's tomorrow, they're going to be having a meeting. And I believe the meeting, let's see, what time is that? October 14th, they will be having a meeting at 6 p.m. in the Coos Bay City Hall to discuss whether to have a moratorium on those storage units. And I don't know if I'm going to go or not. I've got tentative plans, and if I can get those plans done in time, I'm going to go over there and make a comment, because really they just don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, this is the same city who can't even fix the streets. You know what I mean? This is the same city who is pushing all the other BS urban renewal projects. Yeah, these are the same city who defends the derelicts who are running around causing all that property damage. And yet they want to tell you and me, all of us who produce in this economy, all of us producers, all of us who own land, they want to tell us what to do with it. And then they want to tax the hell out of us. And everywhere we go, we keep getting taxes, more and more taxes. And so I hope that if you live in Coos Bay, even if you don't have a dog in a fight, if you don't own a storage unit, like I said, you may want to go and fight against this, because if they can do this to these storage unit owners, they can do it to you. They can do it to anyone. And it doesn't have to be the highest and best use policy. They can come up with some other policy to screw you out of your business, to tell you what to do with your property. I'm sick of it. I'm just, screw them. I'm done with it. Let's see. Jeff P says, schools lose funding for every kid that is removed. Oh, we already read that one. He says, Sal writes everything with AI. However, he doesn't admit it. Laughing my ass off. Yeah, that's the only way Sal could write. Sal's a putz. And no, here's the thing though. Sal does use AI. But here's the difference. I've got a purpose for using my AI. Sal doesn't. Sal's a putz. He has no valid purpose for using AI other than to use it to attack people. Me, I use it to try to educate people, to try to inform people. And like I said, I write the article. It's just AI sometimes polishes it up for me. Yeah, we all use it now. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, when you're writing, do they do correct spell check? You still use that? That's AI. That's a form of AI. All of that stuff where it's correcting your sentences. It tells you to add a comma. It tells you to use UR, YOU, comma RE instead of YOUR. You ever do that? You are. Yeah, it's, I always get those confused. Well, AI comes along and says, hey, asshole, you're supposed to use, this is a hyphenated word. You got to put a comma in there. And so that's why we all use AI. So yeah, that's my latest thing on the Rob blog. And please sign up for my newsletter. Check it out. We got a lot of stuff going on. I talked about it earlier with Matt. We are now allowed, let me make sure it's being shared here. We are now allowed to take our guns into the post office. This was cool. This always used to annoy me. And I'll be honest with you, I never took my gun off when I went into the post office. No, I just said, screw it. I'm going to go in there. I don't care. Let them take me off to jail. Believe me, I'd cost them a fortune in jail. But yeah, the Second Amendment, let's see, let's clear that. We'll do that later. Second Amendment victory. Federal court overturns post office gun ban, dealing massive blow to liberal agenda. Yeah, this is a good thing. A federal court. And by the way, I'm getting this from the Gateway Pundit. That's the gatewaypundit.com. Really good stuff. But they're reporting on this. Jonathan Jones, he's a really good writer. A federal court has delivered a major win for gun rights and a devastating blow to anti-gun radicals. And he's right, they are radicals. They want to disarm you, and then they want to tax you for it. The U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas, well, is there any other kind, ruled that the prohibitions on carrying firearms in post offices are unconstitutional. Bearing arms reported. Chief U.S. Justice Judge Reed O'Connor delivered the opinion in Firearms Policy Coalition Incorporated on Tuesday of this week. The case was brought by the Firearms Policy Coalition, the Second Amendment Foundation, and two citizens. And Firearms Policy Coalition and the Second Amendment Foundation are both good groups. They've been fighting against this nonsense for quite a while. But now you can take your guns into the post office. So now when those crazy post office workers go postal, hence the term postal, you'll be able to defend yourself. Yeah. See, I was always worried about going to those post offices because those postal people are going postal all the time. You read about it all the time. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to shoot back. Just some thoughts out there. I don't know. But very good stuff. I'm going to remove that. Let's see. I got a comment from Chris Castleman. Let me see. Microsoft Clippy has the original AI. Clippy. What a nice little name for something that's probably spying on us, watching us every night. It's the AI, artificial intelligence. Brandy Martindale, the idea that a person who carries a firearm should leave their firearm in their car, that can get broken into? Yeah, exactly. If someone's carrying a gun, that firearm needs to stay on that person at all times. Our laws need to accommodate that. To do otherwise is asinine. Yeah, that's the Democrat motto. We are asinine. Yes. You want to be asinine too? Join the Democrat Party. We are asinine. And so, I agree with you. I think it's silly. And that goes with the concealed carry laws. My Second Amendment is my concealed carry license. As far as I'm concerned, my right to bear arms shall not be infringed. How can you interpret that any other freaking way than our rights to bear arms shall not be infringed? How can I interpret it any other way? Don't tell me where I can take it or how I can carry it. It's none of your freaking business, man. As long as I'm not shooting anyone or waving it around, scaring people, leave me alone. My guns have never killed anybody. Nobody. And I've owned guns all my life. Not a single one of them have killed anybody. Oh, wait, there's a gun over there. Oh, it might go off. Any minute, it might go off. Because guns, they kill people according to the left. I got at least a half a dozen guns sitting around me. Geez, I should be dead by now if guns kill people. If guns kill people, I should be one dead MF. But I'm not, because inanimate objects don't kill people. People kill people. And so, thank you, Brandy. I appreciate that. And before I get out of here, I've got to give a shout out to all the wonderful people who help keep me on the air, because this isn't always cheap. And I appreciate that there are people out there who are chipping in to pay for some of the cost of running a podcast. I got to buy a streaming service, and I got to buy some editing stuff. And there's a little bit of cost to running a streaming service. Oh, wait, Brandy's got another comment. She says, guns are like penises. Oh, geez. Oh, wow. I wish I would have read that in my head before I said it. Guns are like penises. You can take them out in the girls' locker room and helicopter dick them anytime you want. Just helicopter dicking them. They're a fine thing to have and take pride in, but don't take it out in public or let kids touch it. Very good. Yes, very good. That's a good thing. Guns are like penises, and she is absolutely right in that fact. Wow, I've never heard that correlation before, but thank you, Brandy, for bringing that to a full circle. Yeah. So 3H Tree Service. I'm sure Matt's sitting at home going, oh my God, I sponsor this podcast and they're talking about penises and comparing them to guns. Well, don't worry about it because 3H Tree Service don't care, and they're going to come to your yard if you need them because you've got a tree that's causing a problem. Maybe it's a liability. They got branches hanging over cars, maybe an eaves of your house. Well, they can come in, they can surgically remove those trees, and they will clear out all the debris, and they will leave it like nobody was there, and you'll have this beautiful view. You want a beautiful view? You need to call 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. They can do a hell of a job for you because, trees, they become a liability after a time and you need to get rid of them. So that's one way to do it. Call 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. And next Monday, we will be playing Where's 3H Tree Service? And you can find out more at their Facebook page by the same name, 3H Tree Service. Let's see. Tom and Gigs. I went to see Tim over at Tom and Gigs just a couple of weeks ago. He's doing all right. He's that's not an easy gig working on cars. That's a lot of hard work, manly work. And you got to be pretty damn intelligent to work on cars because they got so many damn different cars and they're making them so much weirder today than they did when I was working on them. I can hardly recognize an engine anymore in a car. I don't know what the hell most of those little gadgets and parts are they stick on there. It'd be a whole new education for me, but luckily I don't have to worry about it. Why? Because I got Tom and Gigs. And if you need any automotive repairs, you got any automotive needs, I recommend Tom and Gigs. You need struts, you need shocks, you need your car aligned. If you're going to take your car on a trip, you may want to see if it's travel worthy. Is your car travel worthy? Tom and Gigs will tell you. Give them a call, 541-888-4660. Excuse me, that's 541-888-4660. They're in the Empire neighborhood, right behind the car wash at 135 South Shunman Street in Coos Bay. And if you know where the Empire neighborhood is, you know where the car wash is. And they got a lot of great stuff there. They got lift kits, performance accessories. There's a shot of their building right there. And they've got a lot of cool RC cars, surfboard equipment. They've got a lot of great stuff at Tom Gigs. Really great stuff. So I highly recommend them. Like I said, if you need an alignment, they're great at that. Some of the greats in the business. That guy right there who's holding that car, that's a much larger car than it looks like in the picture, doesn't it? He's got every accessory to that car on somewhere on the wall behind him or to the side of him. And they also got planes, they got Herocopters, and they got Tannerite. You must be 18 years or older to purchase the Tannerite. So that's good. That's good. Maybe we don't want those under 18-year-olds using Tannerite. The boys would be probably taking the Tannerite into the girls' locker room. Who knows? I don't know. Don't do that. But you have to be 18 or over, so it don't really matter. Herbal choices for all your herbal needs. Best dispensary in town. Incredible group of people. I really dig the people who own Herbal Choices. They are a good, solid conservative people, conservative family. You can find out more the herbalchoices.com website. And you must be 21 years or older to even be in an Herbal Choices. They've got 5 stores, 5 locations, great locations: Charleston, Coos Bay, Bandon, Reedsport, and North Bend. So please, if you got any herbal needs, go to Herbal Choices. And abstinence. What have you abstained from lately? So I'm going to come up with a game, because I've been talking about this abstinence, how, if you're someone who talks about other stuff, you drink, you smoke, you don't want to push that on everyone because not everyone is into smoking and drinking. In fact, I haven't drank in a long time because I drank too much just not too long ago. And now just the smell of alcohol just turns my stomach. And I had a glass of wine the other night and it just wasn't good. And it was really good wine. It wasn't the wine. It was me. I just can't stand the alcohol anymore. So I abstained, and I think more people should abstain. I see people on the street all the time who should have abstained from smoking that fentanyl. You mixing that fentanyl with the meth and smoking it and then clucking all over the place. You need to abstain from that. And we also need to push abstinence to the kids. See, kids are being bombarded with all these advertisements promoting sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Heck, I just did a marijuana commercial. So I think at once in a while we need to say, you don't really don't have to smoke pot. No, if you're being pressured into anything, you don't have to. You can abstain. There's this beautiful thing called abstinence. And it goes to, all the virtues in life. To focus on those virtues, you have to abstain from all the sins that keep you from being more virtuous. Those 7 deadly sins. Yeah, that's, 7 deadly sins. We can bring that up. So I was thinking we should start a new game, the abstain game. What are you going to abstain from this week? What can you abstain from to make you a better person? Me and Chris have been working on cussing, and as you can tell, I'm having a hard time with it. It's hard to abstain. It's hard to abstain from cussing, but I am abstaining from drinking. Maybe it's because I just not into it anymore. But if you got a bad habit, you got a really bad addiction, try abstinence. It's a really good method to just stop it. Because I see so many people spending so much money on those recovery centers. Screw the recovery center, just abstain. It's that simple. Really, it is. Oregon Firearms Federation. See, I put that abstinence clip in there in between the Herbal Choices and the Oregon Firearms Federation, just to give me a little bit of cushion between those two there. Because the Oregon Firearms Federation, well, we don't want you drinking or using drugs and guns at the same time. No. You don't ever mix those two. But I'll tell you what, if you believe in your Second Amendment rights, the Oregon Firearms Federation can help you out with that. And you can find out more at the OregonFirearms.org website. Really great group. And I can tell you more about what's going on. I mean, we were just talking about the new laws that were passed and how many people were turned into criminals. Well, Oregon Firearms Federation, they can help you out with that. And I always recommend them. They're not my sponsors, but they're a good group of people. Band and Gun Club at bandandgunclub.org. And of course, Tioga Sports Park Association. You can find out more at the TiogaSportsPark.org website. And the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, one of my favorite Facebook pages. You got to go check out Samuel Adams and Chris Castleman's post on the Coos County Neighborhood Watch. This whole thing that they got going after squatters, it is the coolest thing to watch them go after they're squatting. Get this. They're squatting on the squatters. They're going into these houses and squatting on the squatters. It's beautiful. I got to talk to Sam. Maybe he can take me on one of his little adventures. They don't like to take me on too many of their adventures. It seems like every time I go with them, something crazy happens. I don't know. I attract craziness. I don't know why it is. It just seems to happen. So yeah, I think if you really want to find out what's going on in the county as far as crime, check out Coos County Neighborhood Watch. Really good group of people. And remember, this Wednesday, huge announcement. That's right. We've got a huge announcement coming up this Wednesday about, well, I can't tell you what it's about, but I can tell you there's big news about Republican Party, and it will be announced on the Coos County Citizen Council this Wednesday at 6:00. You got to check it out to find out. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it. It's going to be the best psych ops that we've done in a while. It's going to be better than that billboard. Remember the billboard we put up in Roseburg? David Brock Smith, made in China. It's going to be that level psyops. You're going to love that. We're really going to be messing with people, but it's okay. They're going to love it. They're going to love it. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you tune in next week. I hope you tune in Friday. I've got an interesting show planned on Friday. I don't know if the people who I want to get on the show this Friday are going to be able to make it. But if they do, I should have a pretty interesting show. I enjoyed filming. What was it? A couple of weeks ago, I filmed from Fort. Keep looking and seeing what we're doing. Keep checking my website, robtaylorreport.com. Check out Chris's Facebook page. Coos County Concerned Citizen Council. I'm sorry. Let me make sure I got that right. Coos County Citizen Council. This 6:00 this Wednesday. And until next time, folks, you know what I always say. Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.